The 10th issue of the Russian magazine, Material and Technical Support, has been made available to the public, where an article was published on the experience of using tanks and other armored vehicles by the Russian Federation Army in a full-scale war against Ukraine. The main conclusion of this publication is that the actual maintainability of the tanks of the Russian Federation Army turned out to be 3 to 5 times lower than declared in the governing documents. This, in turn, extended the repair time by at least 15 to 20%. The article states that in the conditions of the war against Ukraine, the Russian military faced the problem of a complete lack of unification of weapons and equipment, which reached a critical limit by the beginning of the invasion. For example, it is noted that the fire control systems of the T-72 and T-80 tanks have non-interchangeable blocks. Also, the fleet of armored vehicles of the Russian Federation Army uses 7 types of engines at the same time. The article describes the level of incompleteness of armored vehicles that the Russian occupation forces received from storage bases. These are vehicles that had to have engines replaced, batteries charged, and spare parts and tool kits completed. In addition, malfunctions were recorded in communication systems, electrical equipment, and fire control systems. Specialists from repair plants, manufacturing plants, and storage bases were involved in their elimination. Because of this, the preparation of tanks removed from conservation for combat operations could take up to 10 days. The article also reveals the consequences of tank damage depending on the type of external impact. In particular, armor penetration led to the destruction of power plant units, failures of stabilizers and automatic loaders, cracks in fuel tanks, damage to optical and optoelectronic systems, and failure of communications equipment. At the same time, the armor-piercing effect of the cumulative jet disabled the tank crew, as well as the components and assemblies that fell into the zone of impact. In the case of damage to the powder charges, ignition and explosion of the ammunition occurred, and damage to the engine and transmission compartment units caused a fire with subsequent explosion of the fuel tanks and ammunition. There were also cases when, as a result of grenades hitting without penetrating the armor or tanks hitting the walls of buildings, stabilizers, automatic loaders and sights failed. This made it impossible to further operate the tanks.